What's up YouTube? This is Gresnick and welcome back to another reaction video. Today we will be reacting to Film Theory. Can K-pop demon hunters escape their fate? I don't know. I watched this movie I think once and then I haven't really touched it much since then. So, let's get into this.
K-pop Demon Hunters might be the biggest movie in the world this year, but I already know how the sequels are gonna end. There's gonna be romance, family drama, and one of these demon hunters might not be making it out alive. And how do I know that? Jimi Hendrix, A 7-Year Curse, and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah, this one's gonna get wild, friends.
Oh no.
Hello internets, welcome to Film Theory, the show that's getting its fit check for its napalm era. Okay, but seriously though, I can't help but scream that line every time How It's Done comes on. So have you guys heard of K-pop demon hunters? If not, honestly, that is impressive. This movie, created and directed by Maggie Kang, came
Music
out of
is
nowhere
everywhere. I
and
can't
absolutely
escape
became
it.
one of the biggest films of the whole year. Like seriously, since it dropped in June, it's become Netflix's most popular film ever. Its music has gone platinum, a huge accomplishment in this day and age. And you can't go 2 swipes on the internet without getting hit with some new meme, cosplay, or clip of the movie hitting your feed.
I am not sitting with no Saja boy. What's up?
Like seriously, last time all the theorists' totes were together, we couldn't stop doing that stupid addictive soda pop dance either.
Wow, it is catchy.
If you did somehow miss this one, K-pop Demon Hunters is exactly what it says on the tin. We follow the adventures of the K-pop group Huntrix, Rumi, Zoe, and Mira as they navigate their lives as worldwide megastars while moonlighting as demon hunters. In fact, they're the latest in a long line of demon hunters who use music to maintain the Hanmoon, or the barrier between the human and the demon worlds. But the twist here, the lead singer Rumi is more than meets the eye. Unbeknownst to her bandmates, she's also part demon. Uh-oh, conflict. And also, there's an adorable love story between Rumi and a demon named Jinu, who is the leader of another K-pop boy band full of demons called the Saja Boys, intent on destroying the Hanmoon. More conflict! And it all happens against beautiful animation, clever writing, and one of the most addictive soundtracks of the last decade. So you know me, loyal theorists, of course, I just knew I had to strike this iron while it was completely frozen over, just ice cold. Yeah, we missed the window in the summer where everyone was talking about this, so is this one gonna be getting all the views? Maybe not, but listen, if it was good enough to bring Quinn Curio out of retirement, I'm okay being a little late to the party too. And besides, we're hitting the Fortnite hype train. It'll be all okay. But what can we talk about here? What can we theorize about? Well, as soon as it was clear that this movie was gonna be golden with the audiences, Sony and Netflix were falling over themselves to line up more Huntrix. And hey, what do you know? Looks like along with the avalanche of merch and vinyl records and those Fortnite skins, we're also getting 2 sequels and a live action remake and a Broadway musical? Wait, really? Oh man, these studios are really just skipping to the dead horse beating phase, aren't they? Regardless, with 2 sequels on the horizon, that seems like a great place to start theorizing. Can we predict the plot for both of these sequels before they even enter production? Can we look at the themes of K-pop Demon Hunters and its inspirations to figure out exactly where these beloved characters are going next? Indeed we can, loyal theorists. And here's a spoiler alert, one of them probably isn't making it out alive. So grab the mic, friends, because today we're gonna show you how it's done in K-pop Demon Hunters 2 and 3. So best place to start here is figuring out what themes we can use to predict these sequels. The first film focused on the fear of imperfection and embracing your perceived flaws as part of who you are, because oftentimes they aren't flaws.
Why couldn't you love me? I do. All of me.
It also had a big focus on friendship and that sort of supportive platonic love, so I believe that this second film will mainly focus on family. And the best part is that that's gonna work super well both creatively and narratively. See, check this. Maggie Kang wanted to bring good representation of Korean culture to this animated film, and for the first movie, they did this by drawing on and then satirizing a lot of classic Korean drama or K-drama tropes focusing on romance. Remember that slow-mo meet-cute scene where Rumi falls and then Jinu doesn't help her up? that's a spin on classic K-drama tropes. Well, another classic sort of K-drama trope is traditional family drama, things that were already hinted at in this first movie. I mean, the big obvious ones would be like the forbidden romance Rumi's mother had, and then Rumi's complicated relationship with her adoptive guardian Celine. And as for her father, though he certainly wasn't Quima, but we talked about that in a short, he definitely was one of Quima's minions. We see concept art of him where he clearly has Quima's marks, and Quima says this about Rumi.
One of the hunters bears my mark, but I have no control over her.
That means that these were likely genetic, and the fact that Rumi's dad is probably still out there and under Quima's control will definitely leave room for some great conflict. But that's the low-hanging fruit. Beyond that, both Mira and Zoe were also hinted at having complicated family lives, and this is where the meat and potatoes of this sequel is going to come from. Mira was described as the problem child who got too wild, which we even see in the film's intro with her family portraits. And on the other hand, Zoe was born in the US and was therefore forced to live two lives trying to play both sides, both her American upbringing and Korean culture, unable to find her own place between the two. These parts of those characters are going to be important to the series moving forward. According to Kang, they intentionally set up a ton of unanswered questions specifically so they could explore them in the future. Plus, their backstories have already been written out and were originally going to be explored a little bit more in the first movie before they were cut for time. It makes total sense that they'd return to those ideas for the sequel, since it would give them a head start on production and an excellent jumping off point for any conflict. And the easiest way for this conflict to come into play is a world tour, baby. So a sequel, quote unquote, going foreign is a tried and true trope. Basically, if we take the characters we love from a movie, we don't want them to do the exact same thing in a sequel. So taking them out of their comfort zone is usually what writers want to do. And an easy way to do that is to pluck them and drop them into a foreign country. I'm sure if you think you could come up with a ton of examples, but just some off the top of my head. John Wick 2 takes the assassin from New York and puts him in Rome. Spider-Man Far From Home got the webhead to travel across Europe. And Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties, takes the all-American cat and throws him into London. What? Are you guys not always thinking about Garfield? Well, if you are and you have some theories about him, do I have a game for you? This is just a theory, a real bona fide board game that we made. I am so excited for this as someone who's played board games and tabletop RPGs like my whole life. I can't believe I actually got a chance to take part in making one. It makes me feel like a K-pop star, right? Or, you know, maybe a demon hunter, whichever strikes my fancy. So with just a theory, you get to join in the theorizing fun and make theories yourself. There's a deck full of prompts inspired by all of the Theorist channels: game, film, food, and style theory, with wild cards based on GT Live. Clearly, you know, film will have the best cards, but I'm not biased there in any way, shape, or form. One judge then reads out the prompt, you write down your best theory answer, and then the winner is chosen by the judge. It's kind of like Trivial Pursuit crossed with Cards Against Humanity. And you can play it any way you like. Want to make the wackiest, most out there theories you can make your friends laugh? You can. Want to get serious and actually throw out some ideas you think are legit? You can do those too. It's all about making the best theory for you and your friends and just having fun. You can pick up your copy of Just a Theory on Walmart.com and in select Walmart stores now. And if you pick up a copy, please share your best theories with us on Instagram. Find me at Forest First, and I'll be sharing some of the best ones I see pop up. I expect some bangers because y'all are smart and hilarious. All right. Shameless shilling for this product I'm just super excited about. Done, but let's get back to K-pop Demon Hunters. Well, Huntrix is one of the biggest K-pop bands in the world. They're doing so well that they have their own Avengers Tower and Iron Man style Hall of Armors for their various outfits. It would make total sense for them to go on a world tour next. Well, another one, since we see that they're actually returning from one at the beginning of the movie. I mean, the biggest K-pop bands IRL have done this time and time again. BTS did the Red Bullet tour in 2014 and have done 2 more since. Blackpink is currently on their 3rd world tour, while Twice is on their 6th. It makes total sense for Huntrix to go on another one for the sequel. And do you know what that's gonna do? It's almost certainly gonna take them to the hometown of another one of the Huntrix girlies.
She grew up in America, somewhere called Burbank, USA.
Yeah, Zoe is actually from Burbank, California, part of the greater Los Angeles metropolitan area. And any big world tour will absolutely be hitting LA, since it's one of the biggest cities in the US, meaning that there's a golden opportunity for us to meet Zoe's family here. And if I were a betting man, I would say that it's not exactly going to be a happy reunion. We see a lot about Zoe's family dynamics in the Golden music video, where she's literally being pulled in two directions, one towards South Korea and her life with Huntrix, and another towards Burbank and her family. This isn't just her trying to choose a vacation spot or whatever, it's Zoe literally being torn between these two paths. Obviously, I am not Korean, nor were anyone in my immediate family immigrants to the United States. But if you listen to many first and second generation immigrants, they describe how they don't feel fully themselves with either culture, or even with their parents. Zoe very much feels the same way, and that isn't just me saying that. According to interviews with Zoe's actress, she's, quote, the only Korean American in the group, and is really trying to figure out what that really means and where she belongs. That wasn't really explored in the first movie, so it's a perfect story thread to pull on again for this sequel. So that's Zoe covered, but where does Mira and her family come into this? Well, again, from what we learn at the movie's prologue and from the Golden music video, Mira's parents are very traditionalist. They wear proper, modest clothing like suits, ties, and sweaters, while Mira prefers stuff like skirts, crop tops, and bright pink hair, unlike her brother who shared their parents' more conservative look. And though we don't know exactly what happened between Mira and her family, we can read between the lines and see that it likely wasn't great. In the Golden music video, Mira interrupts a family photo and literally pushes her parents away. This is probably why Mira got labeled the problem child. And in the song How It's Done, Mira asks for a still a banger line, God! If you don't know, napalm is a powerful incendiary weapon. It's dangerous, it's fiery, it's explosive, and something absolutely perfect to describe blowing up a relationship, like the one, say, between Mira and her family. So here's what I see happening in K-pop Demon Hunters 2. The main plot is going to be about a Huntrix world tour, with numerous flashbacks giving us info and context about Rumi's mom and dad. Rumi's father is probably going to come back here as the main antagonist that the group actually physically fights against, whether that be because he's actually evil or he's fighting against his will just like Jinu did. But either way, he will represent the idea of intergenerational trauma, the theme that will be explored by the bulk of the human side of the story with Zoe and Mira's families. Zoe will meet up with her family in LA, who will make her feel torn between her Korean heritage and American roots, while Mira will likewise be confronted by her more traditional family requesting that she stop her foolishness, grow up, and come home. Now, honestly, all of those I think are some pretty safe predictions, but you know what? I want to do one for this movie that's a bit wild, a bit out there, while still being realistic enough to actually happen. In fact, even if it doesn't happen in K-pop Demon Hunters 2, it definitely will by the end of the series, and it involves everyone's favorite demon with a heart, Jinu. See, we've already talked about how I believe that Rumi's dad is going to be the physical antagonist for this second movie, a character that externalizes all of the family conflicts all of the characters are going to be feeling in the film. But if they want to frame him as a villain that's bigger and badder than what they had to face in the first movie, he'll need to be stronger than the Saja boys. And a great way for them to actually show that would be to have Huntrix team up with one of the Saja boys, specifically the heartthrob Jinu. But hey, wait, didn't Jinu die in this movie? And hey, good catch, it certainly looked like he did, but looks can be deceiving. Maggie Kang has repeatedly refused to say whether or not Jinu is alive or dead, dropping vague statements like, who knows, and hard to say in interviews, despite having zero reservations about saying that the other Saja boys were DEAD dead. So I fully expect that Jinu's gonna be making some sort of reappearance in the next movies. Helping Rumi and the rest of Huntrix in the sequel makes perfect sense for that, right? But heck, we're already throwing out a big guess here. Why not take things even further? Because whichever Jinu we see at first will definitely not be the real Jinu. Instead, he's gonna be an undercover agent from Quima trying to defeat Huntrix from the inside. Remember when Rumi's demon marks are first revealed and a fake Mira and Zoe torment her for it? But in reality, those were just demons in disguise? They were picture perfect enough to fool Rumi, even if she was emotionally compromised at that moment. So doing the same with Jinu seems more than possible. But that's not to say that we've seen the last of the real Jinu either. Remember when Jinu made his big sacrifice? He tells Rumi that,
"You gave me my soul back, and now
I give it to you.
Then a big glow swirls around Rumi's body and her sword evolves into a bigger, beefier blade. While you could read this as Rumi gaining the power of love or self-respect, Scott Pilgrim style, something that's far more interesting is if this is Genu literally combining his spirit with Rumi's sword, something I've seen in some truly fantastic fan art, by the way. This would also explain why it seems like Genu's pets Derpy and Sussy are following Rumi around at the end of the movie. It's definitely not because they're adorable and merchandisable. I need a Derpy plush like so bad, please. They're following Genu, not Rumi. But either way, this is the key to getting the real Genu back in some way, shape, or form, helping Huntrix defeat his doppelganger and Rumi's dad as Huntrix resolves their family trauma and move into the third movie as a stronger found family unit. Which, hey, sets us up nicely to talk about K-Pop Demon Hunters 3. Yeah, we're going for broke loyal theorists, predicting a movie that hasn't even started being written yet. I'm telling you, I'm not crazy, you're crazy. So, big picture stuff here. But if the first K-Pop Demon Hunters dealt with the themes of friendship and self-acceptance, and the second film we think will deal with the themes of family, then it makes sense for the third movie to also take on another big theme like that. And that theme will be legacy. And how do I know that? Easy. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Okay, just stick with me. So if you don't know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a show that aired from 1997 to 2003, though it is coming back soon with a soft reboot. Man, why we gotta do that with everything? And just like K-Pop Demon Hunters, it was exactly what it sounded like. It was about a girl named Buffy who protected the world from supernatural threats with her friends, mostly by killing vampires. Well, except for the hot brooding ones, they got redemption arcs and spin-off shows, so invest in stocks for a Genu spin-off. Buffy herself was part of a long line of paranormal hunters called the Slayers, who would rise up once every generation to defeat the demons coming out of a hellmouth, or a place where the barrier between the demon and human worlds was the thinnest. And now doesn't that sound familiar? When they also had a musical episode where they had a number about theorizing.
I've got a theory that it's a demon, a dancing demon. Something isn't right there.
So, you know, we just love it here. It was a genuinely great episode, by the way. Regardless, the parallels between Buffy and K-pop are pretty clear, and it's not just me saying that. Again, Maggie Kang, the creator of K-pop Demon Hunters, described Huntrix as, quote, a Buffy the Vampire type of demon slayer group, and claims that elements of Buffy entered the film even before the K-pop musical elements did. And the analogs are clear. Huntrix and Buffy are both chosen one demon hunters with unique abilities. They hide their paranormal activities from the world. They defend a tear in reality. Even Genu was described as the only demon with the tinge of a soul left. That's exactly like Angel, the only vampire with a soul at the beginning of the series. So, okay, that's neat and all, but why exactly are we here talking about a 25-year-old plus series? Well, because they share so much DNA, we can look at a lot of the themes that Buffy explores to really figure out where the final movie of this trilogy is going to go. And you see, the later seasons of Buffy were all about legacy. The idea of surpassing the people who came before us, sure, but more importantly, it's about passing the torch to the next generation. By the end of the show, Buffy had taken an entire new generation of potential slayers under her wing. And that's exactly what we're going to see happen with Huntrix. And why would that be? Well, it's because their time as demon hunters has to come to an end. In the movie's prologue, we see several generations of demon hunters, starting in the 1300s Joseon era before jumping to the more modern settings. We go through aesthetics including the 20s, 50s, 70s, 90s, and then finally, the modern day. And surprisingly, we can glean quite a bit from this. Firstly, it seems like demon hunter generations last about a decade or so each, thus the distinct visual styles, and they always come in groups of 3. We also know from early concept art that there need to be 3 hunters to create a successful Hanmoon, and that the hunters probably train their own successors. We actually see that little girl from the prologue training with one of the hunters, eventually becoming one herself. That would also line up with new hunters coming along about every decade, because this girl looks about that much older in the concept art than she did as a child. Plus, in an interview, Maggie Kang said that they thought a lot about the origin stories for Huntrix, and how they became hunters in the first place, how they were chosen and trained, and that they even storyboarded a lot of those sequences. So if they ever wanted to reuse some of that work or reintroduce those ideas, this would be the movie to do it, especially as they train their new recruits for the next generation. And once you find those successors, it looks like you lose access to the Hanmoon abilities, and we see that in a lot of places here. See, on top of being inspired by Buffy, the Demon Hunters hunters in this franchise are at least partially based on the Mudang. No, not the adorable hippo. I'm talking about Korean shamans. The Mudang were usually female, and you would become one through either inheriting the role from your parent or joining as an initiate. Mudang were possessed by a spirit during the duration of their time as a shaman before that spirit left at the end of their time as a Mudang, and we actually do see evidence of something similar in the movie itself. In the final cut, when Rumi surprises Celine, a former hunter, in their final scene together, Celine defensively pulls out a weapon, but it's just a normal sickle. It doesn't have the glowy effects all of the other magical weapons we see throughout the movie do. Now, I don't know about you, but if I thought I was gonna be killed enough so that I reflexively pulled out a weapon on someone I raised as my own daughter, if I could, I'd be choosing an energy weapon, not some random gardening equipment. So, more than likely, just like a Mudang, Celine doesn't have her magical powers anymore. Demon hunters need to pass on their abilities. So it makes sense that this final film is going to be about Huntrix taking a new trio of girls under their wings. New up-and-comers that can protect the Han Moon for the next generation, because Huntrix's time together is coming to a close. Now, why would that be, other than just to create drama for the movie? Well, it's because of a little thing called the 7-year curse. And I bet if you're a K-pop stan, you just started sweating bullets for our lovable demon hunters. See, in the K-pop fandom, the 7-year curse is a pattern that people have noticed, that most K-pop groups seem to lose at least one member of their group, or even disband entirely after 7 years. Famous examples include 21, Miss A, or Sistar. In reality, this isn't like a curse or magic or anything like that, but instead because most contracts for K-pop groups IRL last about 7 years. But that's not very fun, and I like the magic answer better. Either way, this is a big part of K-pop culture, and I expect it's something that's on the top of mind for the creators of the series. And the problem for Huntrix is that they're coming up on their 7-year anniversary. We hear pretty clearly in the film that Huntrix have been together for over 5 years, probably going on 6.
Here are the 5-year reigning champs of the International Idol Award, Huntrix!
The only way they could be the 5-year champs is if they'd been together that long. Though, just real quick to get this out of the way, sidebar, the creator did do an AMA on Reddit saying that they'd only been together for around 3 years, but we're gonna go with that 5-year number since that's actually stated in the movie itself. So, if there are going to be 2 sequels to this movie, it'd make sense that they'd probably be about a year apart from each other. That's nice and clean, and it makes sense, meaning that this 3rd movie will take place in the 7th year of Huntrix being together. Thus, the prime timeline for some sort of breakup because of the 7-year curse, just as they help a new group take their place as protectors of the Han Moon. But what could possibly cause this group of friends who have been through hell together to break up? Even if they pass on their Han Moon powers, couldn't Huntrix just continue on as a group? And yeah, they could, but it's gonna be because one of them has to die. The big bad demon Quima has to be defeated by the end of this trilogy, and to do this narratively, a Huntrix member, likely Rumi, has to make a sacrifice. That's just the rules of storytelling, you know? This is how the 7-year curse will come to be, not as some contract dispute, but a tragic death. And on top of it all, if the timeline works out perfectly, this would even line up with Rumi turning 27. We know from an AMA with Maggie Kang that Rumi and Mira are around the same age, in their mid-20s, and Zoe is about a year younger than them. Line that up with the fact that Huntrix is 5 years old, and that means that Rumi very well could be 27 or turn 27 in this last movie. And believe it or not, that matters a lot. A lot, because that would put her in the 27 club. Every music fan who wasn't sweating at the 7-year curse is now sweating when they hear that combination of words put together. So the 27 club is a term for musicians and celebrities who die at the age of 27. And if that sounds really specific, I mean, it is. But it happens surprisingly more often than you would think. Prominent members include Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, Jim Morrison, Amy Winehouse. All of them passed away for one reason or another at the age of 27. Now, clearly, all of that was a coincidence. There isn't a scientific reason that these musicians all happened to pass away when they were 27. There's no actual magic there, and those deaths were a tragedy. We've lost far too many incredible artists before their time. But there's no denying that this idea of the 27 Club has entered popular consciousness, and it's exactly the sort of thing that would be picked up in a movie about famous musicians who use their singing as mystical powers to fight demons. demons, all while fitting with the themes that K-pop Demon Hunters is taking from the media that inspired it. A big theme in Buffy the Vampire Slayer was that the Slayers always died young. It was part of the burden of being the chosen one. Their life wasn't for them to lead, and instead it was their destiny to make a sacrifice to help make the world a better place. Despite how unfair that might seem, these sorts of characters can't have a happy ending because tragedy is always the key to their story. And if the creators of K-pop want to craft the most impactful story they can based on the source material they're pulling from, this is the way to do it. There's an incredible storyline just sitting here where Huntrix take a trio of up-and-coming demon hunters under their wing just as they enter their 7th year of their time together and as Rumi turns 27. They've all made peace with their families in the second movie, and maybe Ginu has found a way to come back too. He and Rumi get a chance to be happy together, but can't, because Rumi has to sacrifice herself to protect the world from demons, or save one of the new hunters, or defeat Quima, or heck, maybe all of the above. And thus we get a bittersweet ending with the world saved, a new generation to protect it, and Ginu, Mira, and Zoe having to move forward without their friend or lover. It's kind of beautiful, isn't it? It reflects what happened to Rumi's own mother, and as Maggie Kang herself said, don't Korean stories love a good tragedy? Either way, I know I'll be there crying my eyes out and learning all the music for the sing-along. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut. Up next on...
Yeah. Those are really good ideas for sequels. I wonder how accurate he's actually going to be on this. We're going to come back in like 3 years and be like, damn, he was so accurate. Well, as always, like and subscribe to the Film Theorists and myself, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.